All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into some really fascinating internal documents. These papers, they pull back the curtain on how a very confidential, very intense psychological workshop was fine-tuned over years.
So what you're looking at here is a script from 1994, but the story definitely doesn't start there. We're going to use a whole bunch of these internal scripts to track the journey of a program called You Are Your Brother's Keeper. And what we'll see is how, between 86 and 94, it went from a workshop to something much more like a carefully crafted ritual.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the original blueprint. Then, we'll get into how some key exercises changed. We're talking bioenergetics and the trust walk. We'll also dive into the music, the soundtrack they built. And finally, we'll see how all these pieces fit together to create this super refined ritual.
All right, first things first. To really get how much this thing changed, we've got to go back to the beginning. Let's set our starting point with the earliest script we have, from all the way back in 1986.
So right from the get-go, this program was built on a foundation of really clear, non-negotiable rules. And they were strict. Things like, go for broke, no side conversations, and this one right here, a total ban on contact with the outside world for an entire week.
So that's our foundation, right? Confrontation, disclosure, all these group exercises designed to completely reshape how these people saw each other. But here's where it gets really interesting. This is just the starting point. Over the next few years, all these raw ingredients, they're going to get refined, intensified, and turned into something way more specific, way more ritualized.
Okay, so let's look at one of the biggest changes. It centers on this core physical exercise they called bioenergetics. Now, if you're not familiar, bioenergetics is all about using physical stress on the body to unlock and release emotional stress. But how they used it in this workshop, well, that changed a lot. So check this out. In the early days, the script is super explicit. It says, no need for discharge. You do the physical stuff, you build the tension, but a big emotional or physical release, nope, not the goal. Another document from the same time even says they should be capped. The whole point was to contain that emotion, to keep a lid on it.
Fast forward to 1994, and it's a completely different story. I mean, look at this, a brand new section, in all caps, discharge. It's gone from something to be avoided to a scheduled, scripted part of the day. This isn't just a small tweak, it's a total 180 in their philosophy. Now the goal is to provoke that release, to make it happen.
And that's the key takeaway here, right? We're watching this thing evolve from something that was optional, even discouraged, into a full-blown, mandatory, scheduled event. That is a massive shift, not just in the schedule, but in the entire psychological aim of the workshop.
And this trend, this move toward more and more structure, it wasn't just happening with bioenergetics. We see the exact same pattern in another one of their big exercises. The whole workshop was built around this idea of trust. But how do you make an abstract concept like trust feel real? Well, they designed an exercise to make it intensely, unforgettably physical.
And just like with the other exercise, what might have started as a simple idea, a trust walk, became this incredibly specific, multi-step protocol. You're blindfolded in a forest, following a string through obstacles. The rules are so detailed. Don't hold the string, just use it as a guide. If you fall, you have to get yourself back up, and all the while, you're being told you won't get hurt, that someone is always watching. It's basically a blueprint for ritualized vulnerability.
So we've seen how the physical parts of the program got more structured, but it wasn't just about what you did with your body. It was also about what you heard. Music played a huge, huge role here. Just take a look at the official music lists. On the left, you've got the playlist from 86. On the right, 94. And when you compare them, you can see this wasn't just some random collection of songs. This was a carefully curated soundtrack, and it was evolving. And this chart makes that evolution crystal clear. You see, they kept some of the core songs, I Am a Rock for that feeling of isolation, He Ain't Heavy for interdependence and support, but then look what they added by 94. Songs about gratitude, about universal love. They were literally engineering the emotional arc of the experience, moving people from isolation toward connection.
So, you add all these changes up, the physical exercises, the music. Where does that leave us? What did it all build up to?
It all leads to the 1994 script. This thing is the final form, the synthesis of all those years of refinement. It is so much more polished, way more detailed. I mean, even the welcome speech is a rigid 11-step process. Absolutely nothing is left to chance.
So you can see the journey, right?
It started out as this workshop, probably with some handwritten notes, a little room for improv. But by '94, it had morphed into this repeatable, highly controlled psychological ritual. Every single element, physical, emotional, even auditory, was fine-tuned to work together, to produce a specific result.
And that leaves us with one big question to think about. When you see this clear path, this move toward more structure, more control, more refinement, you have to wonder, what's the end game? What does it tell you about the intended effect when you script a human psychological experience down to the minute?